Okay, I call this meeting to order for electoral directors meeting for, what's the date today? Thank you, November 20th. The first item is to acknowledge, the TNRD acknowledge that we're connected with many First Nation communities across our vast regional district, and today we are located on the Thompson-Nicola territory, situated with the unceded industrial lands of the Thompson-Nicola Nation. The TNRD appreciates the partnership that we have with Tecumseh and Thompson-Nicola and respect territory and land on which we gather today. So I do have one additional item that I would like to put on the agenda, and it's a discussion. It's basically an information package on the fringe policy. We discussed that yesterday at our governance and policy meeting, and I just wanted all the aid directors to have the same information that we looked at when we were deciding on what we're doing with that. So I have a motion to add that to the agenda, please. Yeah. All in favor? Good, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to add one item to the agenda, Mr. Chair, in discussion with Director Grenier, who couldn't be here today, but would like to bring forward a motion to this committee to increase the funding for the graveling of rural roads within the Kamloops Highways District, and I can explain that later on in new business. Is that what you want here?
Sure, that's good. Okay. Yeah. Yes, go ahead, Arnie.
Thank you, Chair. As this would require a board decision, in order to put this request forward, are you willing to have this go to the December meeting for the decision of the board, or would you like to bring this up at the board meeting this afternoon?
I would like to have the EA directors the opportunity to talk about it because it's concerning EA areas, gravel roads. We don't need to do anything with municipal roads. So I would like to have the discussion, and then if there's a motion coming forward, it can go to the board, or we can put the discussion on the board when through the Director Honton. Is this something we don't have to do that this afternoon? We can put that to our next meeting? Yeah, okay, thank you. Yes, definitely. Thank you. Okay, all in favor of adding that to our carried? Oh, sorry, Marnie.
Could we just adopt the agenda as amended, please?
Okay. We need to adopt as agenda. It's changed. All in favor? Thank you.
One more. Sorry, could we just have a mover and seconder to adopt the agenda as amended, please? Thank you.
Well, thanks for that. Now we're good to go.
Thank you.
That's why we have somebody like Marnie helping us. Okay, next on the agenda is the electoral area minutes from October 23rd. Need a motion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, the next one is a report from Manager of Operations, Jamie Vera, on service coordination workload. So the floor's all yours, Jamie.
Thank you, Chair, and I won't speak about this very long, but just provide some background where this report came from. I think it was the October meeting of this committee that Director Sal brought forward a discussion around community services staff capacities for new projects and existing projects. So through that recommendation to the board, we committed to bring forward this report laying out our current staff allocation to all the different community services that are specific to the electoral areas. And those are the two positions. So Joe Kang and Sherry Madden are both in the same position, community services coordinators. And so what we did, we haven't done this in the past, but I think this is a good exercise that we'll probably do for this committee each year. So you can actually see the breakdown of what their time is allocated to. So when you look at this report, I guess one caution would be this is specific to 2026. So next year, the allocation, their estimated amount of time for different projects and different services may change based on capital projects or other general direction by the board. So that's the background. If anyone has any questions about it, happy to have that discussion.
Director Sal.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Vieira. Is there, could staff have comments on this 3.5% of that excess capacity for additional projects? Does that seem reasonable? Like your thoughts would be appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, fair question. I don't know what I would say reasonable is. It's not a lot of time, so we just wanted to kind of make it clear to this committee and through to the board that there's not a lot of existing capacity. So if the board has direction to do a specific project related to the EAs that would come out of this time, it would be burnt up pretty quick. Like that represents about 3 weeks worth of one staff person. So there's not a lot of capacity there. That's why if there's a number of things that come up that are outside of this existing work plan, we might say back to the board, okay, we could do it, but then what has to be dropped off?
Supplemental comments and for discussion from other directors. One of the reasons why I brought this up was, looking at the inflation of costs for projects, the longer we wait, the more it costs. So my rationale in the beginning of bringing this up was, can we compare the potential cost increases if we delay projects and how much would it cost to hire an additional headcount? But I speak for Area A. The only thing that I do want to do for the remainder of the term is one community sign for Wavenby. So I'm not too concerned that that cost increase is going to go up any significantly in compared to hiring additional headcount. But if other directors, you have some special projects that requires, usage of that 3.5%. On top of the 147 expected hours for the parks and trails, I think we should discuss that. If everybody else says, no, I've got nothing else, on the radar, then maybe it doesn't really warrant further consideration of additional headcount, I think.
Thanks. Maybe through to Jamie. Most of our projects are on our 5-year capital plan. They have to be there to be for 2026. If they're not in the capital plan, I guess first question is the work that we have right now allocated for 2026 in our capital plan, you're capable of doing all those projects with the staff now?
Yes, through the chair, that's correct. So this reflects the existing work plan based on the existing draft budget, which includes the capital plan. So any capital projects, including the entrance sign project, which included the additional of the Wavenby sign, is contemplated in this current work plan. So if it's a completely new idea, new public assent process that hasn't been approved by the board, new service creation, new capital project that doesn't currently exist, that would be over and above what's existing here.
Yeah. So do any of the directors have anything other than what's proposed now for the 2026 capital plan for workload? Okay. The other question is, I know through the year, there's always projects that we haven't actually, they become probably something that a director would like to have done in a year. So I think you covered it. If it's a lot of work, you have to look and see what you're not going to do in the current plan. So any of the directors, if they have, don't hesitate to bring something to the board or to Jamie if you have a project that you would like to do. And if you don't get it scheduled in for this year, you can possibly schedule in to the next CalWorks plan. So that I think that should work for everybody. Does that work?
So yeah, in that case, I'm comfortable with. Thank you very much for the fulsome reports, and I don't think, especially in light of the budget circumstances, tax increases, I think we should delay looking at headcount increase. Thank you.
I'm sure Director Aaron will let us know when there's a project that's appeared and he doesn't have staff time. And that'll also, we're going to be looking at it again next year to see if we do require another staff person. So it is on the radar, and I'm sure we'll look after any issues that come up. Thank you. Any other comments? Next on the agenda, 5.2 is the Film Commission discussion. And Terry, do you have a report for us? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what it is that the Film Commission is and what we're up to. A lot of these slides might look familiar. They're kind of taken from the presentation that I provided back in March, but I have been providing updates to the municipalities over the last few months here, mostly because it was outlined within our strategic plan that the municipal staff had asked and requested that I go around and make a further explanation of what it is that we do. There is a couple of new additions to this presentation, and I'm going to also go into a little bit more in depth of the economic impact just to explain it just a little bit further. So I am going to kind of speed through a few of the slides. So if after I'm done, if you're wanting me to maybe go into some of those slides a little bit further, I absolutely will. So this is our mission statement, and I won't read it, but in essence, what it is we exist so that we can support the economic growth of the film industry within our region by enticing productions into our area and by trying to facilitate growth from within. This is our small but mighty team. There's 2.5 of us. So there's myself and Katie, who are full-time, and then Vesta Giles. She is with us 2 to 3 days out of the week. She's a filmmaker herself. Katie is behind all of the amazing marketing materials that you might see on our social channels and our e-newsletters. She's also just my right hand and amazing. So the Thompson-Nicola is one of 7 regional film commissions throughout the province. There was 8 up until earlier this year, and we dearly miss our neighbors. And we're all under the umbrella of the BC Film Commission through Creative BC. Wanted to show you some of the numbers. We are only given numbers up until 2023. It does take time for all of these figures to be vetted and make sure that they are accurate. So the motion picture industry, and this is specific, it's not creative, but it's motion picture specifically, accounts for over $2 billion worth of economic impact into British Columbia. So that's not bad. However, we haven't seen numbers that low since about 2016, and that is directly impacted by the strikes that we had in 2023. These numbers are gleaned from the tax initiatives that British Columbia provides. So we are considered to be in the distant regional tax credit, and I'll get to a slide a little bit further down. But these are productions when they come into British Columbia, or they're already existing in British Columbia. When they spend a certain amount of time in our region, they get an extra bump up of their tax initiatives given back to them, and it's all based on labor. So in other places, they will have tax incentives that are on full spend. Ours are all directly correlated to a heartbeat. So when people are getting jobs, when they are getting hired, the production might get a certain amount back for their spend on labor. That is it. So when productions film within our area, it's considered to be a distant region, and there is an extra bump up from the base tax credit that British Columbia has. So these numbers are based on just the productions that claim those tax initiatives. Not all productions qualify for those initiatives, so there could actually be other additional funds that aren't being calculated because this is based on the ones that just get those tax incentives back. And the graph below shows the Canadian economic impact, which is also showing a little bit of a dip in 2023. So what does it mean actually locally? So because we haven't gotten our numbers back from Creative BC, we do have a internal calculation where we take into consideration what types of projects we had in the area and how long they spent with us, who they were attached to. So for example, we would say a commercial tends to spend this amount of money daily when they come into our area. Then we find out how many days they spent in our area, and that's how we come up with this interim calculation of how much money was spent in our area internally until we can get those reports from British Columbia. So this is what we have expected that there was a spend in 2024. So here's some of the newer information I thought that I would share with you. So just recently, there was a $450 million injection of federal budget funding into the motion picture industry. I wanted to talk about how the tax incentives went up a little bit this year. So the basic tax incentive went up from 28% to 36%. So the province has felt that the motion picture industry is so valuable that they are willing to increase that amount so that we're enticing even more productions into our area. So when people film within our area, it's the 36% plus 6 plus 6, so it stacks. And so this is for the province of BC. So when it's a domestic production, it's even larger. So we're funding the productions that are based here in our area even further. We're supporting them even further by facilitating growth from within. Again, these are all stackable. So I wanted to share this with you, which shows that these are the projects that are filmed specifically in the distant regions, and those numbers have been steadily increasing since 2015. So it really shows that more and more productions are wanting to get outside of Vancouver and come into our distant regions. You'll see a little bit of a dip in 2025. However, 2025 isn't completed yet. So these stats were taken from earlier on in the year. So I would assume that they will go up when 2025 is done. And we are showing more resiliency than the metropolis areas as well. These ones I'm going to go through very quickly because, again, I've shared them with you, but I wanted to highlight some of our greater successes. So Sugarcane was a production that was partially filmed in our region, and it made it all the way to the Oscars. Edge of Sleep was a television series that was basically 100% filmed within Kamloops. Tracker, again, it's my favorite one. I think our biggest claim to success is the pilot episode, the first 5 minutes of the pilot episodes, which is where you are trying to gain your audience, was filmed within our region, and it showed. It premiered right after the Super Bowl, which there is no better primetime slot than that slot, and most of their marketing material was of our area. So that is marketing that we would never be able to afford. So it was excellent to see that, and I believe they're on season 3 now. Die Alone, partially filmed in our area. Get Fast is a sequel to Bulletproof, 100% filmed within our region. We have the premiere at the Paramount Theater with much of their cast and production crew came for that. The Test documentary made by our one and only Vesta Giles, all about the district of Logan Lake being put to the test. They were the first fire smart community in all of Canada, and this was a documentary that was based on that. In Cold Water, partially filmed in our area. Henderson, small film that is taking the world by storm and getting lots of awards. And this is why I want to express that I can't always talk about what I'm doing. I can't. I have an NDA or the production has asked me to try to keep things as quiet as I possibly can. It's for many reasons, but one of the main reasons is to keep their cast and their crew safe, because once it gets out that a production is being filmed, people get curious, or they feel entitled to be able to just drop into set, and it causes, at bare minimum, a disruption, and can actually cause safety concerns. So a lot of the times what I am working on has to be kept on the down low. And I share when I can because I'm excited about it, but I have to keep it a secret for as long as I possibly can. So how are we involved? I'm not going to tell you what I do for the day-to-day. That'll bore you to tears. But I would have to tell you that 90% of the time what I am doing is showcasing our locations to productions. So I come from a tourism background, so I'm going to give a lot of similes to what the tourism industry does. Would film productions come here if the film commissions didn't exist? Yeah, probably they would, just like visitors would stop in the hotels that we have throughout our areas. But do we entice more by having the services of the tourism entities that we have? Absolutely, we do. 100%. So the Film Commission is very much the exact same way. We are the ambassadors. We are the welcoming committee. We provide the resources that productions might have when they are coming to our area, because we want productions to come to the area, right? We want them to come from outside. Do they know what resources we have? No, but I do, and I can support them by leading them in the right way. Do they know who they can hire for local crew? No, but I do. I can support them by showing them the people that are in the area that are wanting to work within film industry. So, and not only that, but they don't know where we have our locations or what we have for our exquisite locations, who is film friendly, who to avoid, those types of things. So these are the areas where we have an expertise, and we are excellent at enticing productions into the area and supporting them while they're here so that they want to come back. So we're the welcoming committee. Some of our recent successes. So I really am excited about our returning movie map. So we released the movie map in December of last year. It was one of the top 10 sites that were visited on the TNRD server in just that 1 month. So people are interested, people are excited, they are wanting to know what has been filmed in our area, and this is a great tool for them to see that. We came out with our strategic plan. We are meeting or exceeding our milestones within that strategic plan. Some of our marketing efforts involved me going to AFM last year, which is the American Film Market. That took place in Las Vegas. I was the only Canadian location that was set up in the locations department. I was there when Trump got elected, which I wasn't expecting. I didn't really even look to see that elections was happening when I booked this space. Our dollar hit a low overnight, and BC announced that we were increasing our tax credits. Me being the only Canadian and British Columbian location that was at that event, I was a very, very popular booth. A lot of people wanted to come and talk to me because it meant that every third day that they were filming in BC would basically be free. And I try to do something like this every 2 years. Our budget doesn't really allow for me to do this on an annual basis, but something every 2 years is something that we can strive for. We've been acknowledged as one of the top places to live and work as a filmmaker in the Movie Maker magazine for 3 years in a row. That's kind of a big deal. We've added to our schedule an annual 2-day seminar where we have folks that can come and learn about the film industry. It's really boding very well because many of our residents can't go to Vancouver or to Banff or to Whistler to engage in these types of activities. So they can come to our event and be able to learn about these industry standards. We invited the Knowledge Network. We invited some really great key speakers to the Learn About Film event. We had about 55 participants from all over BC. We had people coming from Williams Lake, from Abbotsford, all types of people, or people from all age spectrums as well, coming to that event. So that was an excellent addition to our repertoire. And then every third Sunday, I moderate a film industry networking event where we invite guest speakers to provide information on their realm or their scope of film. We do that so that we're not just sitting around and gossiping. We actually have something that steers the conversation and provides some learning opportunities. I can say that there has been some excellent synergy from this. So we've got people that will come to these events. They might get funding from Story Hive, for example, but the funding that they get might only be $10,000 to work on a project. So they'll need volunteers to work on their projects. They volunteer with one another. So they're meeting one another at these events so that they can say, I got funding, my project is starting right now, can you help me with this? And when you get funding for your project, I'll help you with yours. I've seen that happen already. There's local people that have created films that are doing amazing things. There's director Amanda Wandler, who created a short film through the Crazy Eight. She's going to LA, she's going to Europe. Her project is really taking off, and she met a lot of the people that she worked with on the Crazy Eights program through our film industry networking event. I can also say that one of our residents met with a funder at one of these events, and I can't say it's through direct correlation, but being engaged with those people one-on-one, she was able to get $250,000 of funding. So I think that really shows that by having those people coming into our area is providing opportunities here locally. We took advantage of an amazing grant that allowed us to purchase 3 e-generators. This is them on their maiden voyage with Netflix with a movie called My Secret Santa, and that will be coming out on December 3rd. You can look for it on Netflix, and really excited about this project because they are a little bit heavy, and we don't have anything like that to be rented here in the interior of BC, so they would have to transport them all the way from Vancouver in order to be able to use them. We have them here so that they are able to use them here without having to do that transportation. They do save emissions, and they are nice and whisper quiet. We are always looking for potential investors that might want to move forward with a film motion picture studio that would really catalyst us and be able to move forward. Right now, we just don't have the infrastructure to sustainably grow. If we had a motion picture studio, we would. And another service that we are adding this year is the familiarization tours, where we are inviting location managers and production managers to tour our areas and see what it is that we have. I can say that we did a tour in May, and it has already had a direct impact. So not only did we have bookings of visitors at some of the resorts that we stayed at, but we also had one of the film locations that I showcased be utilized this year as a direct result of this familiarization tour. This is where you can find so much information. You can get lost in our website for well over an hour. There's so much information and details in there. Follow us on our socials because we share lots of fun information. Sign up to our e-newsletter. We only send it out once a month. We don't send you any coupons or anything weird that you don't want. We just give you the information of what's happening in film industry within our area. And that is the Film Commission in a nutshell, at least for this year.
Thank you. I remember that when we had the big discussion around actually creating this film commission, and there was a fair amount of discussion, and what we have managed to create is a real revenue generator for our whole area, and it's all done through the TNRD, which is I think it's great, and I think you do a great job. I've been on tours with you showing countryside that we think we might be able to turn into film. And it's always a joy to participate with you when you show up to look at our countryside around. So does any other directors have any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Lee.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. Congratulations, of course. There's such a deep history in this area in terms of passionate film commissioner individuals as well leading that charge. So certainly appreciate that. I had a couple, I think, really easy questions. One will be or is, if you had a top, sorry, I'm looking over the chairs. If you had a top competitor within the industry from a provincial perspective or whoever else possibly is coming out from the United States, who would be your biggest competitor? That would be one. And then the second would be, could you highlight to me the biggest hurdle that you have faced or possibly could face? So in terms of where we would need to go collectively as a TNRD and within the community that's going to be supporting further these initiatives, so what would be a key hurdle? And the final one you've already answered for me, which was the tracking impacts. I wanted to know where we were at in terms of creative sort of expanding income that is and generating. But leave that one alone and just let's look at who are we chasing? What's our wish list? And what would be a hurdle that we conceivably could look to overcome?
Sure. So I would say I don't look at any of the other regions as competitors. I think of them as neighbors, and we try to work together to entice productions, because when we're looking at geographical boundaries or imaginary lines, a production might not look at it that way at all, especially if they're coming from the United States or Australia or whatever the case may be. They don't care that Falkland is outside of my region. So I have to very much work collectively with my neighbor to make sure that we are working as a team. I would say that maybe the Okanagan, it would be like a sibling rivalry because we love one another, but maybe we just want mom or dad to love us just a little bit more. So we would love to have more of the productions landing in our area. They have a similar geographical area, and they're in the same tax boundaries. So maybe that might answer your question. And then I love to look at things from a positive lens. So opportunities that we have that we could be pursuing would be the motion picture studio. I think that is a thing that would definitely be able to move us forward into being able to grow the industry, because as much as our beautiful landscapes are one of the major reasons why people come to our area, weather can be unpredictable. Having a motion picture studio allows you to film 4 seasons and so on and so forth. And not only that, but have your cast and crew living here as opposed to having to bring so many of them in. So if you're working on a television series, for example, they're not going to hire a lot of people locally. They will hire some, but they're going to be working on the project throughout the duration. So wherever they land, they're going to bring their team with them because they're experienced, they're familiar with the actors, all of those sorts of things. So they tend to travel, which is great for the hotels and putting people in the hotels. But it's maybe not as good for providing jobs. So a little bit of a balance there. So having the motion picture studio built here, I think, would be the biggest thing. And then training crew is always things that we could work on more. But then that's funding that would have to be allocated towards making more of that happen. So we are already doing some of it, but it would mean more. And then the final question, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. What was the question about tracking? Sorry. So tracking it in comparison to other industries or, okay, so I could say that I don't have the local numbers, but I can say provincially, we are a little bit lower than tourism. Again, we contribute to tourism, so you can look at it in that way. But we're a little bit lower than tourism, higher than forestry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, Terry, I'd like to say, from a person that doesn't go to many films, I really have loved working with you the last 3 and some odd years since I got on the board here, especially helping in the South Country, getting you together with some of my great neighbors in the Knutsford area to film some very great films and commercials. And I just want to say without coming here, I didn't realize what all we did. Because I'm not a go to a film kind of a guy, but I sure appreciate what you do and what you do as an economic driver and appreciative of the rural part of our area that sometimes gets forgotten. And you seem to bring that to the front and center. A couple of questions. With our great man down to the south, Mr. Trump, do you see or have you seen a change in the American folks coming up to spend money and make films and commercials here? And the second question is, not counting films, are we seeing quite more commercials being filmed here? I know I worked with you on the Volvo commercial in Knutsford, and I was really proud of that, and I don't know whatever became of it, but those are the kind of things I love to see when, I know Director Sarai did too when I took him up.
So the first question, sorry, what was the first question? I fixated on the second one. Oh, right. So I would say that there hasn't really been any announcement as to how he intends to roll out those tariffs. And I think that the rest of industry is kind of asking the same questions as how would that work? When would it work? There's been no real tangible information to go along with it. So at this point, it has just been status quo. We're all just moving ahead as we have been. So no impact there. And then the second question, more commercials. I don't know if it's more commercials because I mean we've seen documentaries and independent features and all those sorts of things. Maybe commercials might make up a very good portion of revenue because they do bring in a lot of dollars in a very short period of time.
Could the directors member put their mic on, please?
Oops.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Hadwin. I got a question. So you mentioned there used to be 8 commissions. I'm just wondering if you have some background on the one that went away earlier this year, just for the awareness of any risk or threats. Thank you.
I don't have a direct source of information. What I do know is that the Columbia Shuswap Regional District, the film office was operated through their tourism entity, and the Columbia Shuswap Regional District has opted out of funding that department. So by that happening, the film office was then closed. My understanding is the provincial funds that the Columbia Shuswap Regional District was getting is now going to the Okanagan Film Commission to try to bring in film projects into that area. That's all that I really know at this point. Yeah, but I would have to say that we felt that our tourism partners, when they were there, were very knowledgeable, and they were easy for us to send the projects that we're interested in. Say like they would say, "Hey, what's going on in Salmon Arm?" And I would say, "Well, I can direct you to the Columbia Regional Shuswap, and they can help you." At this point, it's very new with the Okanagan, so I just found out yesterday, actually, that the Okanagan was taking it over. But I think that the tourism entities did know where all of their filming locations were. Do you know what I mean? Like they were very knowledgeable about their area. And so it has been kind of a little bit of a missing gap for the last little while. Now knowing that the Okanagan is taking care of it might be a little bit different, but yeah, I feel like they were very knowledgeable and knew what was going on.
Any other board members have any questions? Obviously, everybody's quite happy with what you're doing. I myself, I really appreciate your knowledge, and I remember when you came on as the new film commissioner, and what an improvement. Thank you for that.
Takes time, takes time. I appreciate it. I think I appreciate you recognizing the growth.
Thank you. Next on the agenda will be our items added. I think I'd like to do that before we do the roundtable. Director Houghton, you want to discuss the road issue?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This all started back a while back, I believe, when Director Grenier, who is part of this motion, when he had the highways, local highways folks from the Kamloops region, the regional manager and the district manager, look at the situation on the Drunk-Hill-Chris Creek Road. And then I had a meeting with both of them at the westbound scales here a little while ago. And they filled me in on how the weigh-in motion system works here. In discussion with them at that time, and same as Director Grenier, we both identified that there's a lack of funding within the Kamloops Highways District for rural road graveling. And I believe this present government has wheeled back the budget for that extremely. I mean, we haven't seen hardly any rural road graveling, haven't seen any paving, never mind graveling. And in discussion with both of those, they said if there's something that you folks could do at the TNRD is put a motion forward and a letter written to the Ministry of Transportation and Transit to take the Kamloops Highways budget from 1.5 million to 3.5 million for graveling rural roads within the Kamloops Highways District. He said that would help substantially doing a better job on what they do, because right now they're just piecemealing. Like in my area, they did one road up in Knutsford, Weir Road, little short road, and then they run up to Barnhart Vale and do Robbins Range, and nothing of any extent, but sort of piecemealing. They did do some work for Director Grenier last year on Tronquil, but I'd like to make a motion that we write a letter to the Ministry of Transportation to with the deteriorating state of the rural roads within the Kamloops region, to increase the highways budget from 1.5 million to 3.5 million. Thank you.
Seconder? Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to bring up the point I brought up earlier. Is I'm glad this discussion is happening here. But if we delay, if the motion happens here, it's not going to come to the December meeting. The letter or advocacy won't hit until January. Corbin and I are actually meeting with transportation next week at the advocacy tour. So I would encourage you also to bring this up this afternoon so that it could actually just get into the queue sooner. Yeah.
You have to make a motion here.
No.
A motion here, or just let the folks within the other regions know what we would like to do within the Kamloops area. So
I'd still encourage you to make the motion and have that discussion like you are. I just wanted to remind you that bringing it to the board this afternoon will just speed things up and allow Corbin and I and Chair Roden to actually have that conversation perhaps next week when we're in Victoria.
would I bring that up this afternoon under new business or addition to the agenda? I mean,
it would be, yes. And I think the letter is already going to be in the blue folders this afternoon. So that's where we thought it was going to hit. So I'm glad it's hitting both meetings. Okay, awesome.
Any discussion around, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to clarify, Kamloops region, does that, because I know my road maintenance Argo is, and my MOTT manager is also based in Kamloops. Is that including?
what the motion is the area, we call it the Kamloops region, that is Graham Schimpf and Sam Ventrietro control, which is, I believe, is the basically the Kamloops region, the Argo region, uh, and the bound, within all the four boundaries.
Thank you, supplemented that. In that case, perhaps a note to Chair Roden and Mr. Kelly, and as you do advocacy, I like to tie the need for those graveling in my area to the major projects, the resource exploration that's happening in our rural areas. I was just in Birch Island yesterday, and a resident who's had a long issue with the unpaved road there. Requesting graveling, more new materials rather than just grading, because they were grading it down to nothing. And it was mentioned to me earlier this year that MOTD said, it's actually a lot of the mining exploration heavy equipment moving out and in and out, as well as forestry that continues to happen in our rural areas, making use of these roads. So I hope in the advocacy, the province sees that it's not just residential, these few pockets of residential properties that these gravel roads are servicing. They're servicing the resource industry that they're supposed to be pushing right now. So, yeah, thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Just if you could all let your fellow directors know before the meeting, as they start to come in for 1:30 this afternoon, that there is this this letter in the blue folders. I know the chair does say in the chair's announcements that there's something in the blue folders, but by then the meeting's already started, and I really can't expect people during the meeting when business is going on to take this out and read it during the meeting. Ideally, they'll be reading it before the meeting starts so that they'll be able to digest it properly. So if you just maybe as people come in want to remind them, hey, there's a letter, we'd like you to read it so that we can have a discussion later on.
That's good. Thank you. Any other directors have any additions to Director Houghton's motion? Okay. So we've got that sort of exactly. It's coming to the board this afternoon to get your letter of support, and then it'll go down with the group to Victoria. That's great. Thank you. Okay, the next item I would like to is have Director Kraus just review the fringe area information that was supplied to our governance policy meeting. It's a very good report, and I thought all of the board should hear it. Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you. So yes, yesterday we did have a report on the Policy and Governance Committee. So maybe I'll just give a bit of a background summary as I did yesterday. The fringe areas policy was initiated in 1982. And at that time, the board had resolved that they want development applications sent to nearby member municipalities if there's a development near their boundary. So that's how it kind of initiated. By 1984, the board adopted what was called the Fringe Areas Policy Paper as a special planning study. So that was the root beginning of the current policy. And there's two parts to it. There's the covering policy, and then there's the guidelines, and that's about 19 pages. And that's where there's specific direction in there about how we handle applications within these buffer areas around municipalities, and where we discourage certain types of development. So I'll keep using this word, but that's what it was referred to as the fringe area, is a buffer around a municipality where urban meets rural. And that buffer area was seen as an area that would have higher potential for development because it's near a municipality, where the workers are, where the services are, but the land is cheaper because it's not serviced. So there was a fear at that time, and it comes from planning theory and urban geography, that companies, businesses want to grow and locate near a municipality, but not within it to save money. So that's the root theory behind it. So the board at that time, and it's still in place today, set a 5-kilometer buffer around the city of Kamloops and a 2-kilometer buffer around all other municipalities. So that means if there's an application for development within either the 2-kilometer buffer of small municipalities or the 5-kilometer buffer of the city of Kamloops, staff send a referral to the municipality for comment before the application is brought to the board for consideration. So that's part one. Part two is that there's certain types of development, for example, commercial, industrial, where the policy states it's discouraged within those buffer areas. So that means if somebody were to come to our staff and say, we're looking to locate a new big business, new industrial business on the outskirts of a municipality, staff would encourage them to contact the municipality and try to find land within the municipality or find land that's potentially already zoned for industrial within the electoral area somewhere, but not within that buffer range around a municipality. So that's just a couple examples of the policies that are in there. Staff recognize and acknowledge it's been 41 years since that policy came into place. It was last reviewed in 2014 and debated by the board. We made a couple minor changes at that time. So that's been 11, next year be 12 years. So it hasn't been looked at in a long time. So I presented three options, which is just leave it all alone. Option two was rename it, because I know there's some concerns about fringe and that the word connotates that it's people living there are fringe people. That's not the what the intent of that was. But so it was option two was rename the policy but keep the content the same, and option three was that staff be directed by the board to bring the guidelines to a committee of the whole in 2026, explain the background, explain how we use it today, and have a debate and discussion as to both whether we need it still today and to what policy content should be in there if we still want to have it. So the Policy and Governance Committee yesterday passed a motion to recommend to the board that staff be directed to bring it forward to a committee of the whole in 2026 for discussion. And so that's what staff will be doing. So hopefully that gives a bit of a background, and happy to try to answer some questions as well.
Thanks, Alex. I did have the complete report. It's on our package today, if you want to review it. I think when we talk about fringe area, unless you go to the maps at the back, each municipality is shown there, and it shows what the fringe area is. And it is quite a substantial amount of area that around each municipality and city of where the fringe policy fits in. For instance, mine in Merritt goes right out to Nicola Ranch, and it's a huge area. And everything's changed so much since this policy is written. We now have OCPs, which we didn't have when the policy was written. And most of our OCPs are up to date. I think that covers most of the zoning areas. All municipalities were invited to participate, especially in area M and N, if they had any concerns or wanted to look and see what we were planning in our area. So the municipalities have had an opportunity to be involved in creating OCPs. And I think in all the areas, they had the opportunity to come and participate. So it's over a 40-year-old policy, and I read through some of it and it just doesn't make sense to me at all anymore. The only question I have, is it my understanding that it's basically paid for by the TNRD area directors, the planning department? And if the municipalities want to have a vote, do they have to have a fringe policy agreement like what we have now in order to vote? So if they didn't have that agreement, would they be able to vote on EA directors planning in their areas?
Through the chair, no, the voting and participation is a separate thing. So the participation agreements that the municipalities pay into is what allows them under the Local Government Act to participate on development applications when they appear at the board. So the policy is not required for that. But I think part of the genesis of this policy was, how do municipalities and electoral areas get along and work through some of these applications when it's right on a buffer of a municipality? So it was seen as a method of working through issues potentially before they hit this table, is really the theory behind it. So no, the voting and the participation, that is separate. They municipalities pay into that service to be able to participate. And the fringe areas policy isn't needed to enable that.
The other thing, when I read through that policy, it's basically municipalities giving and laying out what they want to see what happened within the fringe area. It doesn't go the other way. The EA directors do not have any say in what happens within municipalities that are on our border. It seems to be strictly, at this time, it strictly seems to be municipalities being able to now vote because they all pay into our planning department on any planning issues that come up in our EA directors planning, that we don't have that right to vote in a municipality over whether or not it's something we want to see happen. And it's very lopsided as far as I can see, and it definitely needs updating just to bring it up to current times. And one of my recommendations would be that the original policy was formed by a committee of the board. It was municipal and EA directors had a committee put together that generated this particular policy. And I would like to recommend, I will be doing it when we discuss it at the board meeting, that we do the same thing this time. We involve municipal and EA directors and decide whether or not the fringe policy is necessary. And if it is necessary, what would we like to see in it as EA directors? Because right now it's a pretty, in my opinion, it's a lopsided policy. So, and does any other directors have any questions? Okay, thank you. We'll be talking about it at the board meeting. I'm not too sure. I don't think there's any tight time limit on when it's coming to the board. Maybe through to Scott. Do we have a schedule or a time when that would be possibly coming back to the board?
Through you, Chair, would be just sometime in 2026. We haven't planned out when that would happen yet. We do want to try to accomplish that in 2026.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Now we're into the roundtable discussion. I don't think I missed anything yet. First up is Director Sal, Wells Gray.
Thank you, Chair. From Area A, Wells Gray Country, I attended the open house for the Trans Mountain Optimization Project last night. I've been in discussion with Director Onslow, Director Hayward, and Mayor Blackwell, and Director Blackwell and Director Kerslake about the impact of the BC assessment and the correlation that Trans Mountain is, trying to optimize increased revenue from their existing pipeline through introduction of chemicals into the pipe through our communities, and at the same time, trying to reduce their taxation support for local communities. So I met with Trans Mountain representatives last night, and as did Director Blackwell, and expressed to them very clearly that this could not be the worst possible time for you to do both at the same time. So the good news was that the representative there is, explained that she was just as surprised as we were, apparently, when last month this came to light that they're pretty close to, just sign off from the Ministry of Finance. And they also made or advised me that from what they know, I must have missed it in the news because she said the Finance Minister Bailey said there is a pause now on this, and that so I've been in touch with Director Blackwell, and he's kept me up to date on the municipal side. He's gathered a coalition of municipalities who is affected by this, and I thank him and appreciate his efforts. But that we should keep up the pressure. I understand Director Onslow also has a petition going. I don't think we should pause just because of what the representative said, it's paused right now. I think we should just keep the pressure up. So there's that. To Seco, Yellowhead, I had a brief email updates from them The environmental assessment process is continuing, and they're shifting a lot of their community engagement to the Caribou Regional District right now with the power line, transmission line construction. And it was interesting as well also when they were talking to Trans Mountain representative, they do have collaborations between these major entities that they did try to collaborate, bringing power together for their optimization project, the pump station capacity increases for Trans Mountain and the Seacoast usage. But unfortunately, BC Hydro said, nope, you're going to have to bring in your own power from 100 Mile. So there's that. Yeah, I have a Wells Gray Country Services Committee coming up in December soon, and we're going to talk about the our destination marketing organization, which is the Tourism Wells Gray in our area, has went through the provincial process to increase the MRDT in our area, and that has achieved the required signatures, and that's going to come back to my committee to approve from the TNRD side. And yeah, that's that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Director Onslow. I actually have a list, so don't worry, everybody's going to get a chance to talk.
Thank you very much. A few things. So as Director Sow had mentioned, I started a petition that really rallied the communities of Blue River and Avola regarding the pipeline devaluation, and it opened up a lot of great conversation about how taxation and how municipal and provincial governments work. So I take it as an educational opportunity and also an opportunity to speak with a lot of different residents that sometimes you don't have those conversations with. So the petitions were actually mailed yesterday. And I'm really proud of our communities because we got a lot of signatures. So it's a big deal for our communities. And I really hope that the finance minister takes note of everyone's concerns because it's major. I was happy to hear that you guys are meeting with the finance minister, or sorry, the transportation ministers, because we still have issues in Area B with roads that have not been repaired from Trans Mountain. And it's my understanding that the Ministry of Transportation has been paid by Trans Mountain, but the roads are not repaired. So that's something that I've just recently learned, and I don't know whether that is on our road contractor or the Ministry of Transportation, but that might be something that I need some help with in the future for our communities. And then last but not least is just on a really positive note is the Blue River Community Association and a group of seniors in Avola working together to open up space at the Avola Schoolhouse where community members are now going, and they have a weekly craft event, and this is the senior citizens. It's a wonderful thing to see the communities kind of helping each other out and to also have space for people to get together. And the Avola Schoolhouse is a TNRD now owned asset that is just absolutely beautiful and really well maintained. So I'm happy with that. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you. I think you heard me without my mic.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I'll start off with devastating news that West Fraser has closed the last mill in 100 Mile. I know it's not in the TNRD, but it certainly affects our area greatly. We've got a lot of logging guys and that work from their homes actually, and that live in the 70 Mile area. So it's going to be pretty devastating. I did have a meeting with Mayor Pinckney the other day, and she's pretty well beside herself as to what they're going to do going forward. They're not very optimistic about any of the promises that they've received from the government about subsidies or helping out with the residents. So it's pretty dire straits, and it's not a great way to go into the end of the year, and certainly not a great way to be introducing a new budget and taxation for next year, which obviously is going to be some sort of an increase. So it's going to be a bit of a hard sell. I've also met with a couple of the solar and wind project people that are talking about some projects in the Clinton Chasm area. All that's kind of off in the future. Some of them they're talking about late 20s or early 2030. But it has caused a big concern, certainly with the ranchers in the area. It is in TNRD area, but it is all Crown land, of course. So it's really not our bailiwick, although the residents do expect that we're going to keep an eye on it and make sure that everything is done properly. I'm continuing to work with Loon Lake community. It's an area that I feel has been sort of left out a little bit in the past. So I'm working on 2 or 3 projects with them, and actually been getting some very good response and really good feedback from them, and they're happy that the TNRD is a little bit more involved with their communities. Lastly, I guess I'm just looking into a possibility with School District 27, basically the same thing that Mike Grenier did with leasing some property that's being occupied by the 70 Mile Access Center, to see whether we can kind of help them out with going forward with some renovations and that sort of thing. It's kind of in the infancy stage, and I don't know. I've only had one meeting with school districts, so I don't know what their response is going to be as far as a long-term lease, or basically the same idea as what Mike did. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting a little bit further along in that in the spring. That's it.
Thank you. Next is Director Tharp.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, let's see. I guess the number one thing would be the spill, which was in Director Grenier's area. So that did have some impact for my residents. So spent a lot of time chatting with residents about their concerns and about them wanting to make sure water was being tested downstream. The fire trailer that I was so hyped about, it is finally a reality for the community of Botany Valley. So that fire trailer is now in its new home, and they're looking at the training happening over at Siska, and working on a collaborative agreement with that community and about 5 of the First Nations in the area. So I think that's a really positive thing, this community collaboration that's happening there. Next week, on behalf of Silga, I will be going down to Kelowna for an expert panel on rural health to do with the Jim Patterson Center. So they're looking for ideas that we could maybe implement, thinking outside the box. So if people have concerns about healthcare, I'd encourage you to reach out to me, and maybe I can add it to the list I've got growing, because I've been talking to a lot of people lately on that one. With the recent request that a letter be sent to several of the provincial ministries regarding what is happening in Lytton with the healthcare center. I've had some fantastic conversations with local First Nation health groups. It's been very positive, and they have appreciated the transparency of what's going on. So again, I think that's a really positive. Highways 1 and 8, ongoing work from the atmospheric river of 2021. The project at Gladwin is started, and the project at Shacken, both on Highway 1, Shacken should start by the end of this month. Highway 8 is moving along. They've got a couple of little road closures happening at the Curnow Bridge, just half-hour intervals, so it's not too bad. And I have noticed that they're doing a lot of restoration in the river, and that isn't all to do with the Highway 8. A lot of that has to do with the restoration project. In talking with Fraser Basin Council, they had a little bit more insight, and a lot of the restoration is to do things to provide shade, to decrease the temperature in the river, to make it more fish friendly. Gold Country had their Excellence in Gold Country Awards last Saturday night. I think the awards were really well received. People were really excited to either be a runner-up or a winner. And I'm going to do a little bit of bragging here. Area I had 14 of those awards. So well done to my community. I'm very proud of them. I began conversations with a local nonprofit about ways to help fund a community hall. So we'll see how that one pans out. That may take a year or two. We're just in the preliminary stages of that. And thank you to Jamie for providing some insight into that. And let me see, last but not least, I've been working a bit with Geraldine Kirk. She is the EA representative on UBCM. And we have been talking about strategies for electoral area inclusion and advocacy on the provincial level. So I'll talk about more of that a little later. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing Mr. Grinier's not here today, it goes to Director Houghton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few brief things. I guess we'll start off with before we headed off to UBCM, I attended the Provincial Winter Fair in Knutsford, local 4-H show that TNRD helps support, and at the same time, the BC Ag Expo was on in Jill's Riding up in Barrier. Very successful fair, kids from all over. They appreciate the help they get from the TNRD as far as helping out and support. And then we headed off to UBCM, and I thought we had a very constructive time there as far as the meetings that we attended. Like I said earlier, attended with Graham Schimpf and Sam up at the Westbound Scales, and he explained to me how the weigh-in motion, which is a very interesting concept, installing on these rural roads to control heavy truck traffic, and that weigh-in motion is installed right on the straight stretch on Nicola Ranch in Director Laird's area. But how that works is, and the operator at the Westbound Scale explained to me, is every time a truck crosses that, whether going south or north, there's a picture taken. It's not a tool for running out and giving tickets. He said it's more of a safety thing than anything. Yes, it does tell you what weights are weights on each axle, but he said what it's really done is help prevent a wreck down the road when they got a blown tire and the driver doesn't know he's got a blown tire. It'll show it in the system, and one of the weighmasters from either end will go and stop the vehicle and make the driver aware of it. But they said it's been very successful, and it's helped the safety on Highway 5A immensely. We haven't had the accidents. They used to go that way for whatever reason. Now they cross it going either direction, and the waymasters on each end are notified if there's something they need to attend to. So, and that's when the subject of this rural road graveling came up, because we talked about I talked about the chain on, chain off area on Cardew Hill with them, and I believe the advocacy group is going to bring that up in Victoria, but it's a small ask for myself and the residents on 5A. I attended the Remembrance Day ceremony here just a little bit ago at Westwold on behalf of the TNRD, and laid a wreath on our behalf. Well-attended ceremony. And there again, they appreciate the funding that the discretionary funds gave to help put that nice ceremony on. And I'll let Director Morris talk about the annual meeting of the Pritchard Community Association. I didn't attend it Monday night, but Director Morris gave a report on my behalf. And I guess there's some good news. I got a whole new committee, some new young blood, and she'll talk about that in a few minutes. But last few days I got notice that, some people it's not a big thing, but I think the people in Pritchard will appreciate it, and the traveling public on Highway 97. We're finally getting a street light put in at the corner of Highway 97 Duck Range Road. And it really blows me away with all the emails in the world we live in. It's been going on for over a year, And I phoned Joe Kang one day and I said, Joe, like, what's happening to the street light? I keep getting harassed by the people on Upper Duck Range Road. Well, it's stuck with the highways ministry and, you know, they got to make a decision. I said, oh yeah, who's the magic person in the Columbia Shuswap do you talk to? So he gave me his name. So I just dialed 778, whatever the number was, and got a human being on the phone. And actually he phoned me back and he says, gee, Doug, I don't know anything about it. And all these emails, but if I did receive one, it went over to engineering and all that. And I said, no, but I'll look into it for you. Well, 10 minutes later, I get a call, or it wasn't even 10, about 45 minutes later, I get a call from Joe Kang. Just got a call from the head girl in the highways department in Columbia Shuswap. You're getting your street light on Duck Range Road. I said, gee, it's funny when, you know, all these emails have been going back and forth, and one phone call gets me a street light. So there it is. It's a success story. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm next on the list. The only thing I have to talk about is we all remember the algae bloom that happened on Nicola Lake. Director Graham and myself and our local MLA had a meeting with the concerned public. It was quite interesting. We called it for Monday morning at 11 o'clock in the morning. And there was 80 people showed up. It was obviously when there's a problem, it doesn't matter when you call a meeting, the people that are concerned that affecting them, they show up. So from there, we formed a society. It's called the Guardians of Nicola Lake and Watershed. Herb and I funded $5,000 to get signage to be posted around the lake. They now have that project done. YRB is installing the signs. And the other information is the only provincial Ministry of Health can make any announcements on blooms on lakes. So they are working with the Interior Health to be sure that when there is a problem that it is posted. Their society was started in, I think we got it started in August. They now have over 150 members on the society. They have different aspects of supporting it, right from local community members, businesses, and other industry that is supporting and funding what needs to get done at the lake. It was very positive. When you start something like that, you're never sure how it's going to end up. That this was a very great success story. They work very closely with the Upper Nicola Band because they have a fisheries department that is also doing the same studying of algae and what's happening with the Nicola watershed. So they work together, and so there's no duplication of work. The next thing they'll be doing is they're going to be doing water testing. They have to go to, I think it's called Class 3, where they actually will be testing water on a regular basis. Right now, it's only tested in the fall and the spring. So it does give a very good understanding of what's happening in the lake as far as contaminants. I didn't get that word yet, but and what the minerals are in the lake that the algae bloom likes to grow on. And algae bloom, it's quite particular. There's a certain amount of weather conditions that have to be happening, and all the nutrients have to be in the lake. The nutrients are in the lake. They won't be coming out anytime soon. We've had 120 years of white people being in the valley. We've had a dam on the lake since 1920. It's completely changed the environmental flow of the lake. It is now, with the new dam, the flows aren't the same at all, as if it was a natural flowing lake and river. So we've basically created a soup hot tub at the lake because there's never enough water coming in at this particular time. If we get a good runoff, they actually leave the dam down and you get a complete flush of the lake. But the last 3 years, as soon as a runoff starts, they raise the dam, so the lake fills up. One of the things that helped get rid of the algae bloom this year was they dropped the lake by 8 inches. And so it changed the temperature of the water, and that's when the bloom started disappearing. But it sounds like what Director Graham and myself started has been successful. And that's one of the reasons it's so nice to be an EA director, where you can actually work and help solve community problems. So that's my story. Thank you. Director Graham, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Area N has been fairly quiet lately. We as well have lost a sawmill in our community. They say it's temporary, but I have a hard time believing that because the log yard is completely empty and it has been for probably a month. Yeah. And the community at Brookmere is still hopeful to be able to use their schoolhouse that hasn't been utilized for over 50 years to become one of their main gathering places. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Next on the list is Director Hayward.
Okay, I wasn't ready to go through all this, but number one, I have to say in my area, we have quite a few small creeks and streams that dried up in the summer and they still have not come back. Amazingly, we had the Phaedra Lake or whatever that was overflowing from the dam, and there's other places that haven't. The property that I live on, I've been there for 30 years. We have a creek there that historically has never dried up, and it has dried up and hasn't come back yet. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with some of our farms and ranches this year. I've been working for most of my time with the TNRD with Simp First Nation as well. They're doing a badger study. It's into the 3rd year now. And they're studying wildlife corridors to cut down on all wildlife that are crossing highways and things. So part of our ranch, because we sit right above the highway, that's where they're coming down and getting wiped out. So the study is what's there, what's coming, what's traveling, where does it travel, and how does it travel, with the plan eventually to maybe perhaps be able to put at least culverts under a highway so that the smaller animals can get through, because they do learn to use them and they will use them. So that's a really interesting study and to be part of. I'm learning lots, and Simp have been tremendous to work with. What else did I write down here? I've really been pushing people to do fire smarting of their properties, which they are. Strangely, they're not necessarily calling for the fire smarting people to come, but they are doing it themselves, which is just great. We have a few little areas that I wish they would, but they haven't quite got there yet. So hopefully they will get better at it. I'm working right now with the folks in Lewis Creek because they had a small cemetery that was up above on the knoll behind where the transfer station is now in Lewis Creek. The people who were interned there were moved to the Barrier Cemetery, but in talking to the Lewis Creek folks, they would like to have a plaque or something in that spot that recognizes that this is where these folks were buried. And unfortunately, they were buried so long ago, some of them don't even know who they are, but they were the first settlers of the area. So that's something that folks are really quite getting into, doing and working with. I'm working closely with the food bank, Mary Lions Club, area seniors, of course, because of food and food security. I'm part of the Lower North Thompson Food Security Society. I'm part of the Lower North Thompson Tourism Society. We're talking throughout our area about the tax implication, of course, from Trans Mountain, and hopefully with all the work that everybody's doing, that we will not have to pay that assessment that they've come up with. And I'm working with the TNRD and local organizations about adding some more trails or caring for some more trails in my area. I think that's moving along fairly smoothly. And where else am I here? And I've also worked with a number of organizations within the region that I used to belong to before I became a TNRD director. So I'm still having input in many areas that I probably wouldn't have had if I hadn't been there before. So I think my area is great. My people are great. And that's my report.
Thank you. Director Morris, you've been waited patiently.
Wow, this is, yeah, being last can often not be good. In any
It's
case.
where you are in the alphabet, unfortunately.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so a couple things. Actually, I've got 1, 2, 3, 6 things, all really quick. One of which I just wanted to note that last week I attended a celebration of life for Mr. Sawada. If any of you were around in that time when Fred Sawada was one of the early directors, he's a neighbor of mine from way, way back in the 90s, and he used to swath my hayfield for me. So I've got fairly close to his heart. The Sawada family are still very engaged in this community as well. So I just wanted to just pass on that the recognition of him and the role that he played as a director was present as well at the function that I was at. And there was probably 250 people there, which was really nice. Let's see. Pritchard Community Association, thank you, Doug. I'm really fortunate that he's such a great partner and he invited me in to do the coverage on the Pritchard Community Association. It's really interesting to see that organization, broader group of people sitting up at the front. This was inspiring because the young people of Pritchard that really have come to the table as directors. All of this is just really formative watching, they're maybe 25, 28, maybe 30, like way younger than me. And it just was really encouraging to see that at the front. And a new person at the chair as well. And Dougie, of course, is the lead on all of those communications with that community association. And I get to step in, which is nice. The light sounded like a really good thing. We heard lots of really, really good things about the Highway 97 intersection light. And I would agree. But what was the other interesting one, Doug, just to add, the people that live on the furthest going west, basically, we don't normally see them at meetings as and that was coming up too. So what I see from a personal perspective is a change even in the fabric and the energy within that particular community association. And honestly, I think we'd like to see that in most of our community associations around the area. So I wanted to add that one in there. A couple of different ones. I will be joining in the meeting of the LLNTS because I haven't had an opportunity to do that. So I'm looking forward to participating in that in the next little while. Roads and cattle guards. It's just an ever non-ending issue. And there are two things on my gripe list right now, just again, is, we just consistently have to be on this as the TNRD, no matter what. When you're in, I just happen to have a lots of roads and cattle guards that are a problem. The other one is, and sorry, Corbin, but the waterlands and resources. That one doesn't stop. So I think we just have to always keep re-envisioning or figuring out how we can really get the movement on this. I mean, Jameson Creek, you all heard it. It's pretty recent, and that issue will get worse this winter. And Corbin and the whole team have tried so hard to address this Crown land issue, and yet, we speak to the ministers. And sure, we probably speak to an EA, and it feels like the community of Area P it sure feels like we're still not getting anywhere. So that's probably the only negative that I would bring to the table, because I know how irritating and frustrating it is for the team, for the staff team, as well as our residents. The other one that I was going to, just a couple little good notes. Pinnatam Paul Lake are really, things are really coming together with their community associations as well, and really forward thinking. So I think there's some good things as well. And here's the final fun one. It's not really in Area P, but it's out on that west side of Area P. Did you know that they have created a dog therapy swimming pool in the west side area? So if you have one of your four-legged critters while you're in town here doing your business and whatnot, you can actually take the dog to the swimming pool out in the west side area, and they get all their therapeutic exercise. And hopefully they shake really well when they get out of the pool. So that completes my report.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to make the announcement to go into the closed meeting. We'll make the announcement and then we'll have a break. Yes.
Could you please read out the motion, and we will need a mover and seconder, please? Thank you.
Good. That the meeting be closed under community charter sections 90.1N. The consideration of whether a board meeting should be closed under a provision of this subsection or subsection 2, and 92B, the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the regional, district, and provincial governments. So I move that. I need a second. Good. So we'll have a break, and then when we come back, we'll be into our in-camera meeting. Thank you.